Hello, welcome to the Profit Connect Wealth Services investor call. My name is Jeff Winkler. I am the court-appointed receiver for Profit Connect Wealth Services. Today is February 12th, 2025. It is currently 10 a.m. Pacific time. I appreciate everybody taking the opportunity to join us today to give an update on the case. As a reminder, nothing in this call should be considered as legal advice or accounting advice. If you have specific questions related to either legal or accounting, I do recommend you reach out to competent counsel or CPA in order to assist you with those answers. Just wanted to go through the questions that we've been asked, and just kind of as a reminder, we did have the court in December did approve a distribution plan to allow us to make distributions out to investors with allowed claims. The distribution was made on December 19th, and those checks have gone out. If you have not seen your check by now, please do reach out to us, and we can arrange to stop pay the original payment and get a new payment out to you. If you're an international investor and you have not received payment, please reach out to our office to ensure we have your payment information so we can get those payments made to you. Outside of that, now I want to go in and just start talking about specific questions that were provided to us in anticipation of this call. The first one is, weren't you mining Bitcoin? Why can't you send us those profits? So when I began involved in this case, we did, and when we went into Profit Connect, they were beginning the process to attempt to mine Bitcoin. And they had mined a little bit of Bitcoin at that point, but we're talking about a few $100s, not anything significant. We did attempt to continue to try to build out the computer systems as it had been intended, but we're unfortunately unable to make it work in the way that it was designed to have worked, and therefore had to shut it down and not risk spending any more investor money to try to make it work when it was not, even the small scale test was not able to work. Next question is, can you explain in layman's terms the court updates? So the most recent update we have is that the court did approve the distribution plan, which means that we are able to make payments to investors as we receive sums of money that make sense to do so. In addition to that, there will be a motion filed shortly in order to settle a claim with Bank of America. We had threatened to sue Bank of America, and they agreed to mediate prior to filing a suit against them. And we have come to a tentative settlement, which will be noticed in the court here in the coming weeks. At that time, all the information will become public as to the dollar amount and some of the other specifics of the settlement. And that should be upcoming very, very soon. Next question is, why do you continue to pay yourself when you say there isn't enough funds for investors? So, my role in this case is to attempt to get back as much money for investors as possible. In order to make that happen, we do have to spend some money in order to get that money back. So we have to be able to prove up our cases against individuals in order to continue to collect those funds and get them back. And so those fee applications, of course, get reviewed by the Securities and Exchange Commission, by the court, and are publicly filed. So if you ever have any questions about them, you're welcome to reach out, and we're happy to discuss them with you. Next question is, when will this case be finished? There are some, factors in the case that may cause it to go, different lengths of time. But for example, we have this litigation against Bank of America, which we do believe is going to get settled. We have litigation against an attorney in Nevada, as well as a couple other banks, credit card companies, and individuals as well. Our hope is to get as much of that wrapped up in 2025 as we can, with the hope of being able to do a subsequent distribution in 2025. Or early 2026, and then be able to close the case, shortly thereafter. But there are some factors in there, in that litigation that may extend the amount of time necessary in order to wrap up some of that. But we're going to do our best, that we can in order to get the case closed as quickly as possible. Next question has to do with tax accounting, and says they've consulted several tax accountants and received varying answers as to how to report the losses and the 2024 distribution. Is there any consensus on this issue? And so, again, not being able to give you specific accounting advice, what I would say is that the distribution is a return of your principal investment. It should be treated as such. There is no interest return in a receivership. It is all principal return. And that we do anticipate subsequent distributions. And so at least one subsequent distribution, possibly two. And so that as of right now, the amount of money that you've received is not the total amount of money that you will receive. Therefore, at this point, I don't know that it's possible to calculate the amount of what your loss will be in total. And so you'll need to work with a tax accountant if you want to try to take that loss prior to the receivership being closed and receiving the last payment. Next section of questions deals with litigation. What is the status of Bank of America being a responsible party for what happened? Again, we drafted a complaint against Bank of America and hired counsel in order to effectuate that. They did agree to go into mediation, as I stated. We did mediate that claim back in January and did come to a resolution on it, and that information will become public very soon. Is B of A cooperating with helping retrieve all losses? Again, that the answer to that question is yes. We were able to work with them and get this settled prior to having to spend the money to file a lawsuit and litigate the case. So we're very pleased with that. Next group of questions deals with distributions. Has anyone received payment yet? Yes, the checks were produced on January 19th, and they went out just a couple days after that. The international claimants received international wires. Most of those went out by the end of the year. However, I do understand that there are a couple investors, a couple claimants with approved claims that we have not been able to contact in order to receive banking information to get those payments out. So if you're in that boat, I do recommend that you reach out to us as soon as possible. Otherwise, those funds will continue to get held until the next distribution. Next question is when we'll receive our first check and what is the percentage? Again, you should have received those checks by now. They went out in the middle of December. If you have not received it yet, please do reach out. The first distribution was 36.36% of the total amount of your allowed claim. And again, as I stated, we do hope to have a subsequent distribution or distributions in the future based on the settlement with both Bank of America and any of the other litigation that we have ongoing at this time. Next question is, why did you ignore dates that you had set for distributions? So there were no dates that were ignored as it came to distributions. We ended up having 3 different hearings before the court would approve a distribution plan due to factors that were outside of our control. So, every time we had a hearing, we encouraged the court to approve a distribution. There were some things that needed to get dealt with before the court felt comfortable doing so. And that was finally achieved in the hearing in December. And so as soon as that was approved, we got those checks out in less than a week from the time that they were approved. Our goal was to get them out into people's hands as close to Christmas as was physically possible. Next question is, my claim was approved, but my check was less than I was expecting. Why? So the amount that was approved was the amount of your claim. The amount that you get paid is based on the recovery that's available to distribute at any given time. And so that first distribution was of $8 million, and that's what went out to investors. So that's what created the 36.36% distribution. And there will be subsequent distributions based on the recoveries of the Bank of America and other litigation that we have outstanding. And so those will come out, and that will increase the amount that you will receive. Next question is, when will I get my total loss back? The answer is that we don't know yet if everyone will get their total loss back. In fact, it's very unusual in a receivership case for people to receive all of their money back. We do everything we can to collect as much money as we can. We go out and we sue parties that we believe are responsible. But at the end of the day, some of this money was spent in ways that is not recoverable. And so therefore, unless we can recover it from the third parties in the case, including the banks and attorneys and such, that will reduce the total amount of payout to investors. Our goal is always to get back as much money as possible, but sometimes it is not possible to get everything back. How many more checks should we expect? I would say that there's going to be at least one more payment for certain, and then there could be subsequent payments after that as well, depending on how long it takes to settle some of these remaining outstanding issues. Because we like to get money out as quickly as we can. So when we have a substantial sum available, then we will, then we will make a distribution on that amount since we already have an approved distribution plan. When will we expect the process of distribution to finally come to an end? The final distribution will occur after the final settlement of whatever legal issues are outstanding at that time. And so that will be when that final check will happen, and we will make sure people understand that is the final payment that will be received at that point. Will each additional distribution be in a smaller amount? Yes, it's likely that the subsequent distributions will not be as large as this distribution. But again, because we're in litigation and we don't yet know the outcome of what those figures will be, it's impossible to say for certain whether or not it will be smaller or larger. But again, it is likely that it will be smaller. If you have further questions after this conference, that was the end of the questions that we were provided. If you have specific questions as to your check, or as I said, if you have not yet received your check but have an allowed claim, please do reach out to our office. That means that it may have been lost in the postal service, and we want to get that back to you as soon as possible. So do reach out to us, and we will reissue those checks. The checks have a 90-day expiration on them, so if you have received a check and not yet cashed it, I recommend that you do so soon. We have about 1 week until we're at that 90-day mark, and so I encourage people to get those checks cashed as soon as possible. In order to contact us, there's multiple different ways you can do so. The first is via email, using the email contact@profitconnect-receivership.com. Again, that's contact@profitconnectreceivership.com. You can call us at area code 503-980-3711. Again, that's 503-980-3711. Or you can go to our website, which is profitconnect-receivership.com. And all the court filings and documents are there, as well as a contact information sheet. So you're welcome to contact us that way as well. But again, I thank you guys for taking the time to join this call, give us an opportunity to explain what's going on, and also to give you information about this last distribution. So please feel free to reach out if you have specific questions. Thank you.